Hey everybody, welcome back to the Calibrate Tools and DIY channel. Glad you guys could make it tonight. You know what? I really need to start letting you guys know beforehand when I'm coming on. I've been pretty lax at that this whole time I've had this channel. I haven't done that. I haven't put out a some kind of I wouldn't say announcement or notification that I am going live, and that could affect the attendance, but that's fine. I'm improving. One day I'll get it in my head that you need to improve on some of these systems and processes here. But anyway, guys, hope you guys are doing good tonight, good this week. Hope everything's going well. And tonight, just want to dive into a topic that I've been pretty concerned about. Lately, it's been on my mind lately, and it's concerning innovation, right? The concept of innovation, especially for our young folks, and why they should take innovation seriously. And maybe I shouldn't put all the burden on them to take it seriously, but maybe put the burden on the educational system, to push innovation more than it's doing right now. And I'm not saying I'm not saying it's like the worst, but what I am saying is that everybody doesn't have the opportunity to benefit from some of the programs that are out there, okay, to push our kids into fields that will help to help their creative processes flourish, if you get what I'm saying. And so usually when you go to school, at least when I was going to school, you learn the basics, right? You go to school and you learn math, you learn English grammar, because that's the primary language of this nation. You learn history, right, and all that stuff. But what you don't learn, at least when I was coming up in those early stages of my educational life, is you don't learn about how to improve on those processes. I don't care if it's history. I don't care if it's math. I don't care if it's English or whatever. You just taught these things that shoved down your throat. And yes, they are essential things to learn. And, you do have to know how to speak correctly. You do have to know how to write correctly. You have to know something about history. And of course, what you're taught, a lot of it's just, we know today, a lot of that stuff is just not all true. But even with history, right, they feed you this stuff, and you don't, they don't tell you, though, they don't ask you in class how that particular time in history could have went better. What could we have done to create a different outcome, right? It's just, hey, you learn this and that's it. Wait for next period to go learn something else, right? Nothing about innovation, nothing about creative thinking, nothing about learning how to think critically about the subject is taught, right? And you just kind of shove through this conveyor belt of classes where you come out probably not even remembering half the things you learned. And yeah, and I think that really produces what this system wants. Just a piece of paper with nobody to challenge the system, because they were never taught to think critically. They were never taught to challenge what was put before them. They were never taught to challenge the system at all, right? And this is not going to be a revolutionary rant, but even on a just a self-improvement level, you weren't taught that in school. You were just taught to just take what was fed to you and just going out there in the world and plug yourself into another system, whether that's a job, the corporate environment, or whatever, and just take what's fed to you there. So you at this stage in life, at least in my stage, you get to understand what it's all about, right? Why that was, why you were shuffled through this educational system like sheep, and pushed out on the other end, really with no sort of motivation to challenge the system. And the people that did challenge the system, of course, they were dealt with swiftly, right, in not so positive ways, because it's not meant for that, right? But I think the beginning to even having a mindset of critical thinking and creative ingenuity it starts in schools. It starts, in my opinion, it should start as early as possible. Okay, so yeah, yeah, when I was coming up, once again, they they had science fears, right? You know, you do science projects and all of that, but now a lot of that doesn't even exist, right? But what I would say is that they do have STEM programs, science, technology, and I forget what the E stands for, and math. Those programs I think have been a great improvement, but because of the resources required to implement those programs in schools, every school is not gonna have those programs. So you're gonna have a lot of students because of lack of resources, and frankly because a lot of teachers themselves are not prepared to even run a STEM program, right? A lot of them even afraid to step into that. You have students that are missing out, in my opinion. You have students that are missing out on the opportunity to really exercise their critical thinking skills and their creative skills and their innovative skills, uh, and they're just once again pushed out of that conveyor belt, and they're sent out there into the world to pretty much get a job or whatever, right? Whereas the other students who had access to these resources, they're the ones that go out there and create the companies, right? They're the ones they're the researchers, the scientists, and go on to lead fulfilling lives because they're exercising that part of the brain that I think needs exercising, which is your critical thinking skill brain, if you want to call it that. And so the emphasis on innovation, I think, has been stifled for a lot of reasons. Okay, and I just listed out some of those for you, and you can see the results of that. There are a lot of countries out there in the world that have sped past the U.S. When it comes to innovation, when it comes to teaching their population at a very young age how to innovate, how to create, right? And why the U.S. is fell behind in those areas, I can only I could dive into the research for you and come up with some answers, but I can tell you now, just because you see people launching spaceships and rockets into outer space, I should say, not spaceships, but rockets into outer space and all that stuff, and that's not the norm, obviously, right? And you guys know what I'm talking about. And the people that work for these companies, the majority of those people they have access. They came from schools that had access to these programs. They were funneled into, science classes, STEM classes. So they were already on the right track. Other guys, don't have that opportunity. So when it comes to homeschooling, right? If you're going to homeschool your kid, make sure that you include some kind of STEM curriculum if you can, if you have the resources to do that in your, so your homeschool kid can at least be exposed to, the wonders of STEM, right? And okay, if you guys don't know what STEM is, STEM involves math, engineering, computer science, chemistry, all the basic science classes plus more things. And I do think that's a better, that's a better amalgamation of disciplines to have, to offer your kids today. So I do think that's an improvement. My only thing is it's just not available to everybody, and I think that's a travesty, right? And it's just a reflection of that, in a certain system, everything's not going to be available to everyone because of the nature of the system, the hierarchical nature of the system, the economic ladder, and just like people can't afford certain things, certain schools can't afford certain things in certain areas. But if, like I said, if you have the ability to expose your kids to a STEM class, um, send them to a STEM class. Send them to some kind of program where they get exposed to this stuff. You know, and I know this channel's a lot of, mostly about the building trades and stuff like that. Even shop class, even that has declined in terms of it being offered in schools, right? I personally think the building trades are just as important as STEM, any trade, any discipline, and exposing your kids to that is essential as well, right? So, yeah, it all comes back to exercising that part of your brain that craves to create, craves to innovate, right? I think innovation should be the basis of all forms of education, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, what you want to do is improve, right? You want to improve on the systems and processes that run the world, that run your life. And if you can't improve them, then you're going to stay stagnant, right? So that's what it's about. All right. So let me see here. All right, guys. If you got something to say on the topic of innovation, if you're in a STEM class, if you're in some kind of vocational program, please feel free to chime in, whether it's now or in the comments. We love the feedback here, right? So yes, the importance of innovation will never go away. Okay, any society that stops innovating, right, stops improving, will fall by the wayside and be the victims of countries that do innovate. I mean, look at what's going on now. I had a very in-depth discussion with someone today about where AI is going, and that person was telling me that, back in the day, AI, artificial intelligence, was, probably laughed at. And this person comes from a scientific background, art and scientific background, and very educated person in that field. And they remember when AI was just something that was thrown around in certain circles, and it was laughed at by, or at least highly doubted to come to be by many people. But look now, right? Look at it now. It's pretty much on its way to running everything, right? And that was the result of people, who were probably the nerds in school, right? The ones who were deep into STEM, deep into science, technology, math, engineering, and all that stuff. And now, as they're pretty much got the world at their fingertips because of AI, right? Because of artificial intelligence. And this person I was talking to, we talked about the possibilities of AI and where it's going. Now, of course, it's done many things so far, right? I mean, you have it. Google itself is the algorithm is ran by AI, right? So it's not like it wasn't here before, but it's now being absorbed into many other facets of technology, and like all you have to do is speak to something, Siri, right, and it spits out the answer, and all kinds of things. But there's a dark side to that, right? Where is it going? And I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but there has to be some checks and balances when it comes to these things, because as powerful as this technology is, if it's put in the wrong hands, I have visions of the Matrix becoming a reality, right? I mean, it's not far from that, right? Where AI is being integrated into all kinds of areas, including, providing, in the world of medicine, for example, right? I can't dive into specifics of it because I don't know a lot about it, but I know that it's even in that field, right? So when it comes to when it comes to a technology like this overtaking certain fields where you're replacing certain areas of the brain with AI components, I mean, it's like it can go anywhere. So you got to have people with some kind of ethics out there. But if they're not educated in these fields, how are they going to be able to compete with the ones that are educated and don't necessarily have uh, the interests of humanity, or holding have the best interests of humanity, at hand there. So if the majority of our kids are coming out of school and are not exposed to this stuff right now, they're just going to be victims. We're all going to be victims, right? So, Demetric Lynch, how you doing, Demetric? I was telling my handyman that he should start ministry with his church, mainly teach the youth the building trades. Yes, absolutely. I think the church, right, is a great place to start. Right, it's a great place to expose the kids, not just to biblical teachings in Sunday school, but after all, wasn't Jesus a carpenter according to the book, right? Didn't he? So he was, that's the most popular tradesman out there, right? Jeremy Wen, how you doing? How you doing, Jeremy? Good to see you. Glad for popping in on my rant here, talking about AI. I'm talking about innovation and where things are going, and the lack of resources that a lot of our educational institutions, quote unquote schools, are experiencing. And as a result of that, a lot of our kids going through these systems, your kids, my kids, they're not being prepared because, technology is moving at light speed, right? And if they're not able to compete with automation, with AI, with, all these things that are just taking over, where are they going to be? So my ultimately what I'm saying is that it's up to us to expose our children to these things, right? Because technology, just look at the atom bomb back in the day. Look at Hiroshima and places like that. That was technology run amok. And I wouldn't say it was technology's fault. It was man's fault. It was who was behind that, right? Who had who had it in them to push a button to drop a highly explosive device on a country, on a bunch of masses of the masses, and just wipe them out. Well, we may not be dropping bombs on people right now, but in a sense, if you look at the technology of today, artificial intelligence, it's almost like a bomb, if not checked, right? If not checked, you have individuals who can use this technology to really disrupt humanity and control humanity in ways that we never experienced, right? And it's right in our homes. It's in everybody's homes, mostly everybody that has a device. You have cars driving around where I am with no driver in them. You have driverless cars here, taxis. That's artificial intelligence right there. Okay. And we look at it and we say, oh, wow, look at that. That's amazing. And it is amazing that we're able to have that. But somebody lost a job behind that, for example. And that's just on the how would I say it? The end of the spectrum that's not as impactful. That other person can go look for a job in another field. But just think ahead. Think 5, 10, 20, 30 years ahead. You're going to have most of the cars on the road with no driver in them, right? Which means a lot of people are going to be without jobs who drive, especially if you're in the ride sharing or if you're world like Uber and the food delivery apps, and just a regular taxi driver, because they're still out there. Taxi drivers still exist. Those guys are going to be out of here, right? That's how fast. And you know what? They don't care, because it's your fault that you did not prepare yourself for these things. And I'm not blaming everybody, because if you're like 56, 60 years old or something like that, and you've been driving taxis all your life, you're not trying to go back to school to learn how to program an AI robot or a get in the back end, and you're not trying to do that. You're just trying to live your life and drive your taxi and all that stuff. But that's the thing with it, with a capitalist economy that has the speed of technology as the wind behind its sails. Doesn't care about what you didn't know about your lack of education. You will become obsolete in a sense, right? You will become a casualty of the technological rat race, right? And that's a harsh truth that a lot of us have to deal with. But if you think it's never too late, but you can think of some other way to make a living. But if you have kids, if you have grandkids, that's what really this life is all about. It's about the young folks to wake up and look around you and see what's going on, and where you want to be. And sometimes, a lot of these young folks, they're not even thinking on that level. So it's up to their guardians, you and me, to let them know. Listen, this is what's happening. Look around here. When I was coming up, that didn't exist, but it exists now, and it's moving so fast that it's going to pass you by if you don't put yourself in a position to be able to survive in this type of society. You know what I mean? Demetrius said that's one of the reasons I talked to him about it. Yeah, I call that irresponsible innovation. Yes, this history is full of irresponsible innovations. I cited the atom bomb as that. And I wouldn't necessarily. Yeah, I would call the people, right? The people that use this technology to, I don't know, wipe people out so they can maintain power. Yeah, I would call that irresponsible innovation, unethical innovation, right? Because nuclear power is not a bad thing, right? It's what it's used for, right? It's a great source of energy, but look what it was used for. And unfortunately, man's ethics doesn't always keep pace with his technological advancements. He does not necessarily advance ethically in pace with technological advancements. So as a result, you have these things happening in the world. Once again, I keep circling back to the youth, right? You're at a certain stage, a man's not going to change. He's just going to, he's not going to change. I'm not saying people can't change at any stage in life, but it's much harder when he's set in his ways. And when I say man, I'm talking about, mankind. Once a person reaches a certain stage in life, they're pretty much set in their ways. But it's much easier to mold the youth, right? The younger generations, to set them on a better path for the future. You know what I mean? Demetrius said, yes, I was talking about people losing jobs without a plan to bring the former employees up. Yes, up to par. Yeah, absolutely. I do. That's the thing about capitalism. Once again, you're just a cog in the wheel. You're just a number. The average corporate executive doesn't really care about the man on the lowest rung of the ladder, right? And so to ask them to be more compassionate or have empathy, I think that's a stretch. That's ideal for them to really care about their employees like that. But I really don't think that's going to if it doesn't increase the bottom line, if it doesn't benefit the bottom line, then that's all you are. Let's be real about it, right? And so that's always going to be in this type of system. And I'm not talking about overthrowing any system here. I'm just talking about you being a responsible person, looking after yourself and looking after your family. And if we do that collectively, then these systems may have to change, right? Because they still need people. But if military does it best. New equipment training, yeah, absolutely. It's a fancy way of saying, okay. Well, when I was in the military, they taught you how to just, I mean, at least in the MOS that I was in, which was infantry, um, the, the first thing they drill into your mind is to, you know, take people out, you know, and that's it. That's it. They throw a weapon in your hand and take people out. You're not supposed to think. You're not supposed, you know, everything I'm talking about in this live tonight, they don't want you to do. They don't want you to think critically. They don't want you to think about why you're there, who you're getting ready to fight or kill or whatever. You know, I hope they don't using that word, but it is what it is. Yeah. So no, they don't teach you any of that. They don't want that. And the minute they see that you're that way, now you become a target. Okay. And that's just what it is. So, you know, a lot of people are complaining about the new administration and all, you know, this and that. At the end of the day, that's out of your, I mean, if people were united collectively, right, to stop something, then they would. But, you know, the country's so divided along those lines, that's not going to happen anytime soon. That's not going to happen anytime soon. So, you know, you just have to align with people that are on your, you know, on the same page as you, right? And be prepared. I don't care what side of the aisle that you're on, you have to see what's coming down the pike. Technology and artificial intelligence are going to run the world going forth. And you have to be in a position to be able, you know, to survive in that environment. I mean, if not, then I don't really know what else to tell you. Michi said you can't hold greatness back. Absolutely, you can't hold greatness back. They can take the body, but they can't take the movement. Okay, because there's a lot of great people that have, you know, have been center stage only for a while until they got took out of here, right? So we can't necessarily confine greatness to a human being, but what they can't do is kill a message. You may be able to take out a person, but, you know, the body, but they can't take the message out. And you know, that's why the media is so very important. Because once again, just like that atom bomb that was dropped, the media drops bombs on you every day. You know, conditioning you to think a certain way, putting out things to make you think a certain way about this, about that, about those people, about that. You know, that's the real bomb that all of us are bombarded with every day. And so we have to be very, you know, very selective about, you know, what we ingest in our heads. And you have to be able to think critically about what you read. Even me, right? You're listening to me, you got to think critically about what I'm saying, or am I just a guy on YouTube BSing people? Yeah, that's the depth of critical thinking I want you guys to have, is to not just look at me and say, oh yeah, well, you know, he's been on YouTube for a while. No, I want you guys to dissect what I'm saying on my lives, because my other videos are pretty straightforward. That you can't lie about what I do on my other videos, which is teach you how to use tools and be more handy. I mean, there's no deception there. I just want you guys to be more handy, more self-sufficient, and be able to, you know, build your communities, and not, you know, self-sufficiency is what this is really about. But when it comes to when I'm talking about these types of subjects, yeah, you know, I want you guys to, you know, dissect it, think about it a little bit. You know, I'm not, you know, I don't want you guys saying, you know, thinking this I'm some kind of, you know, I don't know, someone who's just trying to shove stuff down your throat just to hear myself speak. No, this is very important stuff, right? Because when I think about things like this, I don't think it's about me, because one day, you know, I'll be out of here, right? We all gonna be out of here one day. But you want to leave something behind for the other generations. You just can't think about yourself. You want to leave something behind for your family, okay? You want to leave something behind for the community that you care about. And it just can't be an all man for himself type of mentality. You know, that's why I stress legacy. And legacy doesn't mean that you have to leave $1 million. It means you have to leave something that's worth way more than $1 million, which is being self-sufficient in the face of systems that don't want you to be self-sufficient, right? That want you to be dependent upon them all the time, because that's how they survive, because they feed off of your dependency. They feed off of your uh, self-doubt to build for yourself, right? And that's what the system is built on. And but you can start with the physical things, right? You can start with the physical things. Um, but innovation is really, really what it comes down to. And you can't be, you know, you can't be behind the eight ball when it comes to that, right? And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where you start. And this is not a rant about you having to be some super smart person to innovate. No, I mean, I created a picture hanging tool. For goodness sake, right? I created that. Took me a while to get the patents and all that stuff, and it was still copied, but it's still out there. It's called Exactech Picture Hanging Tool. It's on calibrate.com. Check it out. And that was, when I did that, I love the process, the challenge, right, of creating something that's seemingly a simple device, but the whole innovative process and the light bulb moments of where, hey, I can do this and create that, and it'll go like this and all that. That was heaven right there. Just being in that zone, right, of creating, and then, the whole process of writing the patents for it and all that stuff. I was part of writing the patents. I didn't write all of the patent, but I wrote a good portion of it. And that in itself, learning the language of patents, I really enjoyed that process. And then bringing it to market, and then the whole innovative process of marketing itself. You see, you can create a product, you can create a physical product, or even a digital product, whatever. I've created those too. That's one thing, right? That's one aspect of innovation, is create the product itself. But the marketing side is also an innovative process, and it really is the most important process, I think, because without marketing, nobody's going to know about what you have. Nobody's going to know about what you're putting out there, right? So you have to innovate even then, right? So you have to think of strategies and ways to bring it to market that makes people want to check you out, or check the product out and buy the product. So so innovation permeates every aspect of business, right? Not just the product side, but the marketing side and all that. And you can say innovation even comes in the tax, and when it comes to taxes as well, but that's a whole nother deal. Just having that mindset of improving processes, improving the way you look at things, right? Which will make systems and processes work for you better, from the physical to non-physical aspects of things. You can't get away from it. So this is what we have to teach. Well, we have to learn it ourselves, right? We have to cultivate that ourselves, but we also have to teach it to our kids as well, if we want a better world. I mean, even on a socio-political level, you have to innovate, right? Because if things stay the same, there's going to be a lot of discontent and unrest, just like you see out in the world today, unless you innovate and create better socio-political systems, more equitable systems out there in the world for people. Otherwise, discontent will bring the system down eventually, right? They say every empire lasts 250 years, but that's not true, right? Yes, every empire at some point goes through a transition. We may call it falls, right? Every empire falls. You had the Egyptian Empire, you had the Sumerians, you had the Roman Empire. You had different empires throughout history that have, were once at its peak, and then for whatever reason they fell. And I would say that their lack of innovation got stifled, right? Somebody got too fat and comfortable. Somebody had too much power where the society was top heavy, meaning that there were too many people at the top, and then all that did was fuel discontent on the bottom, which eventually brought everything down, right? They didn't innovate. They got too comfortable, and that's the problem here. We can't get too comfortable. You get too comfortable, you're gonna have artificial intelligence steamroll you like it's doing to a lot of people right now. A lot of people are going to lose a lot of jobs, and if they haven't already. So if you think your job is safe, think again. Think again, right? Even in the trades, right? They say, "Oh well, no, there's not going to be a robot to paint or get up on a roof and fix my roof." Well, yeah, that may be the case, but guess what? They got 3D printed houses now, right? They may come out with a roof that doesn't need to be replaced. I don't know. It's just all kinds of scenarios. Life should teach you that you should always keep your eyes open all the time. Never get too comfortable. Never get too fat. Nature itself teaches you that, right? Nature itself teaches you that. If you're not the king of the jungle, and even the king of the jungle is not really the king of the jungle. I saw a video the other day. It was in the safari, right? In the African plains. And they call the lion the king of the jungle, right? But is that really true? Because I saw in this video that these two lions were going to attack a hippopotamus. And guess what? The hippopotamus, they were no match for that hippopotamus. So I don't know about the lions, the king of the jungle type of thing. It was one hippopotamus. It was multiple lions, and the hippopotamus ran them off. And I saw another case with a rhinoceros as well. A rhinoceros ran off another. I think it was another pack of lions or something. So, yeah, never rest on your laurels. In other words, never think that you have it all set. Right? Anything can happen. I'm not saying live in a state of paranoia, but Jeremy said what's blueprints? Okay, well, what do you exactly mean blueprints, Jeremy? That there's a blueprint to life, and that there's blueprints that you read to build something. But I'll go with the blueprints for life. Just always stay learning. Always stay learning. Don't fall asleep on what's going on around you. Don't be that comfortable in that job. Don't be that comfortable in that relationship, because that takes innovation as well. Relationships you have to be innovative even in relationships, right? You have to improve to build something. You know what, Jeremy? I've been planning on doing a video on reading blueprints. Building blueprints, construction blueprints. I'm going to do a video on that. So stay tuned for that, Jeremy. Okay. Because I think that is a very important skill to have, is to be able to read blueprints of all kinds. I'm familiar with some welding blueprints. That's what I'm more familiar with. But yeah, construction blueprints. Yeah, learning how to read those. I'm gonna dive into that and put more content out about those. Okay, so stay tuned for that, Jeremy. Then I'll elaborate more on that. But thanks for asking. Very good question. So anyway, guys, I'm not gonna stay on the live too long. I think you guys got the point. It's all about learning and adding to your repertoire, adding to your arsenal of knowledge when it comes to whatever that is in your field. Right? You want to master your craft. Okay, you want to master your craft. And so you can stay on top of the game. Okay. So, hey, I want to thank all the guys that came on, supported me in the chat. First off, okay. I want to thank Dimitrik. Appreciate you. And Jeremy. All right. Thanks for coming on and supporting and everything. Guys, support the channel at Calibrate.com. I had really some basic household products there, some tools, hammers, measuring tapes, the picture hanging tool, nice toolkit I put together for you guys. Go check it out, Calibrate.com. I would love if you guys support that, okay, to keep this channel going, because I do use a lot of the funds to either buy or rent the tools that I showcase on the channel. Okay, so that helps a lot if you guys can support that and share the content. That's another thing. And just come on the lives and let's talk like we do on Tuesdays, and we can learn from each other. So anyway, guys, I appreciate you, and you guys have a great rest of the week. Be productive, and there's always something around the corner that's great waiting for you. You just gotta keep going. Don't give up. All right, guys, have a good one.